How many times do people transition into a leadership role or a team lead role or begin to get a team of individuals around them and still carry that same mindset of I'm the one with all the answers into that new role? Have you seen it? Are you in it? Well, we're going to talk about ways as leaders that we can transition out of that and into a more mutual mindset and how you are going to thrive and not just survive as a leader. Stay with us. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. I am your host, John Espinosa. Welcome everybody to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Hey everyone, it's John here. Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Today, we're going to talk about one of the challenges that I struggled with when I started to get into a leadership position, whether that's in a work environment or maybe you're leading a small team, or maybe it's even one of those father, mother, son, daughter relationships. And I have found this as a parent to be one of the most challenging things that I have done or have been through. And as a leader, it's even more challenging. So stick with us today because we're going to unpack the ways that leaders can change their mindset into a way where they don't have to be the smartest person in the room. And it's going to be a lifesaver. It was for me. Thank you all for joining me today and listening into the podcast. You know, one of the things that I continue to be impressed by you all is the number of views, the number of likes, the number of comments that I get about how just maybe one thing that you heard in a podcast or maybe in one of my shorter episodes, you walked away with something that was practical that you could use, you implemented it, and guess what? It worked for you. And that's why I continue to put out this information. I've been in the leadership business long enough to know that we all have room to grow. There is no perfect leader. There is no person that I've seen that's ready for leadership day one. And that's what this season is all about, is those leadership hacks, the things that I wish I knew day one, or I wish it, more funny, I wish I would have listened to somebody that told me this would happen day one. And it did. So I'm going to share those over the course of this season. Today, we're going to talk about one of the mindsets that leaders, as they transition, you may be in a role temporarily or maybe permanent, and you were the person, the go-to person that had all the answers. You knew right off the bat where to go get the information if you didn't have the answer to the question. And for me, I was that person in the organization that I worked in. Not my current organization, but a previous organization that I worked in. I knew where all the skeletons were buried. I was very familiar with the organizational structure. I knew where to go get things if we needed resource for them. I could provide justification. I mean, you name it, I could do it. And that was good for the role that I was in. It was great. People could depend on you. They knew where to go. You were the person that everybody would say, I bet you John knows that. And guess what? I probably did. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm guessing many of you out there may be in that similar spot where you've been in an organization for quite some time. Maybe you've built the company or team that you are leading right now, and you know where the answers are. Well, we're going to talk about today how flipping that mindset from knowing everything to being curious about things can help you as a leader day one. So I want to get into the first topic I journaled this morning, and a little bit is about our role and how it shifts whenever we take on a new opportunity, a new leadership opportunity. And again, this may be with an organization that you've been with for quite some time, or maybe you've moved into an organization, or maybe you've moved from a group or department within that organization to another department within that organization. And you may still be getting calls from your old department or your old organization about where things are, and you're continuing to answer those questions. And it's very self-fulfilling. It's instant gratification. It feels good as an individual when we can help others. That's why I started this podcast. But as we transition into those leadership opportunities, we really have to understand that our role also changes from that individual contributor, knowing the organization, into more of a collaborator. More curiosity is needed as leaders. And that's going to set the foundation for the culture that we want, for the teams that we want to build, and for the individuals that we want to be a part of those teams. And we're going to talk about 3 ways that I feel switching that mindset is going to help you as a leader starting day one. The first one is IQ to EQ. So you may have all the knowledge, all the expertise in a particular area, and you may be working in that same area now, leading a team. But as a leader now, we have transitioned out of that role into now the EQ part of the equation, the emotional intelligence. How's the team doing? How are the individual members on our team performing? Is there anything going on that's impacting their performance or enhancing their performance? How many times do you individually meet with members on your team? Do you really understand the characteristics and the attributes that they bring to the team? And how do the individual members that have maybe unique characteristics or unique attributes, how are you integrating them to get the work done, to ultimately meet the mission and the vision that you have set forth for your team? If you are still answering all the questions and providing all the answers, you can't do both. It is very difficult. And if you're doing both, that's a dangerous place to be, because you are not creating capacity, which is the second point that we're going to talk about. You're not creating capacity within your team. You're going to be needed. If you have to go on vacation, if you're in all-day meetings, if something happens to you, the work possibly stops. You may have an individual member on your team who needs a question answered. Well, John's out of the office. I guess we'll wait till he gets back. I don't know about you, but my goal is for the team to be self-sustaining, to where I'm out of the office for some reason, I'm on travel, maybe I'm just not on point that day. The team is able to problem solve, is able to move projects from one phase to the next phase, is able to critically think about challenges that may arise, to the point where now you're just clearing things out of the way. You're taking the blame, you're clearing the path for everybody to do what they need to do, you're providing cover from the top. That's where that leadership mentality comes in when we are creating capacity within our team. If we are expected to be in every single meeting, to be involved on every single email, to be counted on to make most decisions in the organization, we're the single point of failure. And I don't know about you, but I try not to be the single point of failure or create single points of failure within the organization. Have backups for backups, primary and secondary. Make sure that there's a mutual awareness around the processes and system that we have in our teams. And how do I know that? Guess what, leaders? I ask the questions. And that's where that IQ to EQ comes in, because I'm naturally curious. And I'm going to tell you something that I'm just going to be very honest. You may have the answer to that question. Whoa, like truth bomb right there. And you can get that question answered just like that. But think about it. What have you done? You haven't created capacity. You've created that single point of failure. They're going to come to you every time they need a question answered, or there's a problem in the organization, and guess what? You're the problem solver. You have all the answers. We'll just wait on John to get back. So where I'm going here is, even if you know the answer to the challenge, to the question, even if you have an idea or you've experienced before and you know the ultimate path to get there, the path of least resistance, and that's our comfort zone. We love to solve problems. Going back, I loved for people to come to me and me to help them answer their questions and solve their problems. That's a natural human trait. But as leaders, we want to create that trait in others. We want to coach and mentor others so they can be the go-tos. I want to have a team full of go-tos. That's what I want as a leader. And so I'm going to work every day to create that team of go-tos. So a way that we can create this team is through empowering others to take initiative and to take ownership of whatever decision that they decide. And let me touch on the empowerment piece. Who empowers who? Is that you empowering your team? And I'm talking about, like, even from a parent standpoint, does a mom, a dad, a grandmother, or grandfather empower their children? And what does that look like? For me, personally, it looked like traveling the hard road. I would go to my dad and ask his opinion a lot of times. Took me a while, but once I figured out that he was pretty smart, right, Dad? Took me a while. I was a slow learner, remember. I would go to him and ask for his opinion, and he never would really answer my question. And I was like, I finally go to you to ask a question, and what are you doing? You're not giving me the answer. Well, he was teaching me a lesson. He was teaching me that by empowering me to think about it. And he would ask very good questions, work me through the challenge, maybe even share a story, but never really say, this is what I think you should do. And that was one of the most powerful things, gifts. That was a gift that he gave me, because now I see that and I can reflect back. And with my team, I try to do the same. If there's something that they have a question about, I empower them to find the solution and then take ownership of that decision. Right or wrong, because we're all going to make wrong decisions. In a true learning organization, we want to fail fast. If we are failing more than we're succeeding, we know that innovation is there and ideas are being generated and people are empowered to take the initiative to think outside of the box, to think outside of the current processes and systems, to think down the road about what we need tomorrow, not just today. So the second one, make sure that we're empowering others to take initiative and own those decisions. And then last but not least, back to the innovation part. If you are the one not providing the answers, guess who is? Ding, 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 ding. It's your team. It is the team of individuals that you have worked so hard to put together, that you have worked so hard creating a culture, that you have worked so hard being a leader who is curious and allows others to bring ideas to the table, allows others to ask questions, allows others to say, how do you see that, John? I hear what you're saying, but how do you see that? That's a learning culture, and that's a culture that I want to be a part of, because the people that are a part of that learning culture, guess what they're doing? They're growing. That's growth. That's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. When an organization is performing at its best, sometimes it's failing more than it's succeeding. That's hard to hear. When an organization is performing at its best, it is failing more than it is succeeding. But you fail fast, you take your lessons learned, and then you start innovating again. And if you're the one with all the answers, guess who they're going to? Guess where the buck stops? Guess where the innovation stops? It stops on your desk. It stops in your inbox. It stops on your calendar when you get invited to all those meetings. Instead, I trust you to go make a decision. I trust you to add input into the meeting. I trust you. The three most powerful words that you could possibly say to somebody. And that is going to get you out of being the go-to and into creating a team of go-tos. It's going to be great. So what have we learned? What's the big takeaway here? The takeaway is you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to be the person with all the answers in your room. That's why you're a great leader. You've created that capacity within your team. You've nurtured that culture of growth. And last but not least, you've empowered individuals to take ownership of their decisions. I hope this helps somebody out there today. Go be great. We'll talk to everyone later. Bye-bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great. Talk to everyone later.